For the longest time, I've always been a proud Slytherin. I've always been able to see in myself my ability to use any means necessary to get what I want. I've always prided myself on my cunning, my ambition, my self preservation, and my intellect. And I always look forward to seeing that trait in other characters. Slytherin characters, as far as I'm concerned, are one of the most interesting people you could ever come across in a book. So, it took a lot from me to meet such a character and be able to move from loving her to hating her. That was what dennis-benn pulled off in Here Comes the Sun. A book that started me off loving a Slytherin and then hating her with every fiber of my being. God damn, I hated her. Hello everybody, Nora back again. This smile on my face is kind of similar to the smile I had on my face when I was doing the review for What It Means When a Man Falls from the Sky. Because like that book, this book, Here Comes the Sun, has me feeling a plethora of emotions. But unlike What It Means When a Man Falls from the Sky, which was a collection of short stories, and therefore, although I loved the characters and I bonded with them, the level of investment I felt towards them was not on the same level as how I felt about the characters in Here Comes the Sun. This will be a hard review and it will be all over the place, and for that I apologize, because I'm still trying to wrap my head around exactly how I feel about this book. So to get started, what is this book about? This book is about three women, Dolores, Margot, and Thandi. They're a family. Dolores is the mother, Margot is the older sister, and Thandi is the younger one, with an age difference of 15 years each between them, and a world of hurt and pain and trauma, all wrought together with this story about surviving in Montego Bay, Jamaica, and the choices each one of them had to take in order to get to where they wanted to go, because all three of them had a similar dream. They wanted to leave their circumstances behind, but they went about it in different ways and each took different paths. And this book just basically followed that thread. So this is a very character-driven book because there was not that much of a plot. The plot was mostly propelled by the characters, their decisions, the choices they made, what their fears was, what they wanted, their desires and their dreams and their goals, and how it fits into, the desires and dreams and wants of and perception of everyone around them. Now, that is what the book is about, synopsis-wise. But what is the book about thematically? Because when you have the opportunity to tell a character-driven story, it means that there are certain parts, certain human truths you want to divulge to the readers. That is always how I've approached it. And that's the reason why I really enjoy character-driven stories, because it tells so much about human emotion, human desires, the human fallacy, human hubris, and all that comes as a result of it. And this book is chock full of it, because this book is so dense with all the things it wants to talk about. We delve into the world of abuse and how abuse is a circle, and how mothers do monstrous things to their daughters, who in turn imbibe that bile and in turn pass it on to others, whether their children, their sisters, or even other innocent young girls and women all around them. It's about a mother who deals with abuse as a child, which, let me just go straight out and say that this book is triggering as fuck, because it talks about abuse and sexual assault and rape, and it does so with regards to young girls and adults as well, but mostly young girls. So you see these young girls who have been victims of childhood rape and exactly how much damage it does to their psyche, and how it in turn is reflected in the actions and decisions they take as they grow older and the toll it eventually takes on them, because the assault is not just surface level. It's like when you toss a pebble into a lake, the disruption is spread so far and so wide, and then it settles at the bottom of the lake, heavy, unmoving, a weight on their bodies, on their minds, on their soul, that no matter how hard it is that they try to shift it, it sinks unmovable to the very bottom and core of who they are. This book shines a light on how society normalizes the casual assault of young girls and women. How it has become such a norm, especially in certain parts of the world. For example, there was a part in the book where Thandi goes to a store and an older man grabs his crotch and looks at her and tries to touch her. And it's interesting to see because she's in a public place. She's in a store. She's a paying customer. And yet, not at any point in time did any of the women or the men in that store speak out against what was clearly wrong. Everybody just kept mute and she fled. Here Comes the Sun also points out the fact that a lot of assaults that young girls face is usually by people that they do know, people that are familiar to them and their family. Here Comes the Sun also delves into how poverty can tear a country apart, how poverty can make you alien to the very place that you should call home, how foreigners can come into your country and take over your lands and take over your livelihood, and nobody, especially in a corrupt society, nobody will blink a muscle, because ultimately governments do not care about the poor in the land. Everybody is all about making money, and the rich will continue to get richer while the poor will always suffer for it, because there is no protections in place for the poor. And this, you can see this both on a political level, in sense of, okay, people were displaced from their homes because they were poor. I can also see it in personal levels, in the atrocities that are committed by their fellow man or their fellow woman, atrocities that are committed just because, poverty pushes you to that point of desperation, where all you see is everybody else in terms of dollar sign, where a ransom makes you forget the boy who you fed and clothed when he was a child, where money helps you ignore the fact that that is your daughter that is being led towards the docks, where money helps you totally forget that this person you're talking to is your younger sister's best friend, childhood best friend, and this could easily have been your sister in her place. This book talks about colorism and how it is connected and interwoven with poverty, especially in areas where people do believe, and this is a thing, where people do believe that, oh, the darker you are, the poorer you are, the lighter you are, the richer you are. And this is rooted in so many things. Colorism is a theme that surrounds the younger sister, Thandi, who is dark-skinned and believes that, she has to be lighter to be loved, to be seen, to be accepted. And she believes that the darker her skin, the higher her chances of being poor, because society would not give her any chances or look her way because she's dark-skinned. We delve into the burdens we place on ourselves, or rather the burdens others place on us, and how it directly influences the choices we make, and how in turn we ourselves end up putting even more of those burdens on ourselves. I guess it talks about ultimately how it's so easy for family to project their desires and dreams on you, especially if you seem to be the person that has an out, that is smarter, that has a higher chance of living the life behind. And then the burdens and hopes and dreams and expectations of your entire family is placed on your shoulder, and then you buckle under it because you lose sight of who you are and what you want. Because all your life you've always been told what you should be and what you should want. And that is something we see portrayed through Thaddy as well. Now, I'll move on to the characters, and we'll start with Dolores, the mother, who, I'm not gonna lie, I hate that woman. I hate her. She's bitter, she's angry, she's vindictive, she's close-minded, she's wicked. But at the same time, when you realize that a lot of these choices she makes, spoiler alert, like, this is something, it will not take away from the story, you'll still get it, but I guess you will help you understand and read it better. But spoiler alert, Dolores sells her daughter for sex, her pre-teenage daughter for sex. So the Margot we meet at the start of the book is a Margot that is broken and has been assaulted and has been made to feel less at the hands of a mother. But then when you delve into Dolores' story, you realize that she too had been assaulted as a child. And when it happened, her mother didn't believe her. Her mother did not comfort her. Her mother did not help her heal. Her mother blamed her. Her mother called her a liar. And this is the same mother that always prided her elder brother as being better. Her mother gave her elder brother all the chances and opportunities that she should have split between both her children, because as far as she was concerned, Dolores was a dark child and she was a girl. And, you know, her son was going to be the one to take the family to greater heights. But I guess it's just, it's sad because I pitied her a bit. But Dolores, even when you realize where she's coming from, she just kept digging herself even deeper. And she just kept making these terrible choices. And it just kept getting worse and worse. And then at the end of the book, you're right, it doesn't matter how much pity you feel for her, you will still walk away from the book with the understanding and the realization and the conviction that Dolores is one of the worst possible mothers in literature. And then there's Thandi. Thandi, who is brilliant and smart, who wants to be an artist, who wants to fall in love, who wants to be seen, who wants to be accepted, and who is dark-skinned, and starts the book by going behind her mother and her sister's back to go and get her skin bleached. Because all she had been conditioned to see and know is that being fair was more preferable than being dark-skinned. And it's sad and at the same time enlightening, because Thandi is going to a private Catholic school surrounded by children of the truly rich and white girls. And she's one of the darkest people in her school. So she's dark and she's poor and she sticks out like a sore thumb. And you could just see all throughout the book, all Thandi wanted to be was accepted and seen and loved. Especially when you have a mother like Dolores at home, who although treats her way better than she does Margot, but still, rather than fill her daughter with love and acceptance, instead puts all her hopes and desires and dreams on the girl's bony 15-year-old shoulders, which is totally and completely unfair. But at the same time, Thandi walks through life with these rose-colored glasses, which is funny because sometimes she takes it off. But when it comes to our family, I guess it just goes to show that we do not want to ask so much questions about our family and what they do, especially when what they do is not so clear-cut. Because somewhere in our subconscious, we're worried and terrified that we might not like the answers. And Thandi, throughout the book, discovers answers to questions and desires she's had, answers that are nothing like what she expected them to be. Like, what does Margot really do for a living? Like, would she be loved now that she's bleaching her skin? Would her classmates ever see her as anything other than other? Will her mother ever accept her and her artistic dreams? Will the boy she loves love her back? I guess it's just sad because when you realize and remember that she's just a 15-year-old girl, it breaks your heart. And then Margot, who was my favorite character at the beginning of the book. Oh God, I loved Margot. She was strong and intelligent and cynical and jaded and blunt and honest. And she was unashamed and unafraid. And she told her truth. She was just ticking all the boxes, and she was ambitious and cunning. And she knew what she wanted and she went after it. And she was amazing, and I loved her. And then we progress in the book, and you find out that she's also queer, because although she fucks men for money, she's in love with a woman. And their romance, Margot and Verdine's romance in this book, was a joy to read. It was beautiful and soft and magical and sensual and sexual, and just, it was perfection. It just filled me with butterflies and made me so happy. And then this book reminded me, like it was fond of doing, that nothing ever stays happy, and that love can, like everything else in life, can be heartbreaking, especially when you're in love with a woman like Margot, who is selfish and vindictive and manipulative. She's the worst. She has the worst traits in a Slytherin, in that it's so fucking extreme, but she does not balance it with the spirit of fraternity, because Margot would use you. She is not capable of selfless, even selfish friendship, because all she will see you as is another stepping stone to getting what she wants. And although I appreciate that quality in some characters, Margot spent the entire book deceiving herself that she was doing what she was doing for other people. And then when she realized that the sister she was sacrificing all of these things for, a sister who she never sat down with and actually with an open mind asked her what she wanted. When she discovers that all this thing she was doing for her sister did not want it, she cut that thread. I guess it's just, Margot confirms that even the villain does not consider himself a villain. A villain still thinks is the hero of his own story. Or in this case, she still thinks she's the hero of her story. And in a way, she might be right. Because unlike every other person in this book, Margot gets exactly what she wants. But at what price? And I guess that's one of the reasons why this book left such a sour taste in my mouth. Because Margot, who is queer, was not above manipulating a young queer girl and drugging someone else to get what she wanted. And I guess every single time you wonder just how low she would sink to. She surprises you by going even lower. Like, Margot is willing to roll in the very dirt to get what she wants. And on one hand, I am in awe, because that takes a lot of guts. And on the other hand, I'm disgusted by it. Because where does it stop? Where do you know you've reached your limits? When do you tell yourself that it is enough? And she closes this book so lonely, and a confirmation that you can get all you want, but what's the use of having it all when you sacrifice every single person who will care along the way? And that is why this book leaves such a sour taste in my mouth, because I see the possibilities of who I could be in Margot, and it terrifies me, because Margot is a mirror causing you to ask, would there be any limit to how far I would want to go in order to pursue my ambition? And that, is there anything wrong with being ambitious and cunning? but still having integrity and knowing that there are certain lines that you should not cross. But that's another thing I love about this book. The characters are all so real and so flawed and so well developed and so well thought of. It hits you that the reason why these characters are affecting you so much is because they are all so real. You've seen them in your friends, you've seen them in your mothers, you've seen them in your siblings, you've seen them in your lovers. And you just sit down with that realization, you're like, fuck. Because this story is nothing if not as realistic as possible. Like, this could be anywhere and everywhere in the world. And that is what makes it so powerful and why it resonates so much. Because this is a human story based on a human truth. The writing is clear and simple. I love the way in which Dennis uses language to show the different characters, you know. Gives you a clear sense and idea of who they are, whether they are both main or secondary. For example, Thandi speaks in cultured British English. You see that and how it reflects on the other characters who seem to look at her with envy, but at the same time a resentment, because her language and her way in which she uses it is both confirmation of where she should be and where they are. But at the same time, I love the way in which Dennis uses the language to further drive home how alienated Thandi is from everyone around her. And then you have Margot, who mixes patois with, you know, with at least a form of cultured British English that is more suitable to the hotel she works at, because she's talking to white people, she's talking to foreigners. So the way in which she addresses them is different from how she addresses people back home. But unlike Thandi, who is so alienated from that part of her culture and that part of her heritage, she can switch between both personas depending on where she is. And then you have Dolores, who only speaks patois because she's never had any form of schooling or training whatsoever. I love how that shows their circumstances and how it shows their personality and how it in turn influences exactly how people around them relates to them. I enjoyed this book. I'm not gonna lie, I'm giving it a solid 4.75 stars because it's a book I enjoyed. But I'm also going to be honest, it's not a book I'm going to read anytime soon, because like I said, it was too real and too close to home and too painful, and I feel like it opened up all my wounds and I'm left gaping and in pain. And then it like sprinkles some salt on it for added measure, and it's like, here, just a little more pain to get you by. But that is what makes it painful, the fact that this is reality. And I guess sometimes I just want an escape from reality. I'm sorry for the noise. My neighbors are doing stuff outside. I tried waiting, but you know, nobody pays attention to me when I'm recording. But I hope you got the last part of this review. Once again, I'm really sorry that this review was really long. Like I said before I started, my thoughts were all over the place, but that is what I thought about Here Comes the Sun by dennis-benn. Let me know if you've read it. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know if you think it's a book you could consider maybe picking or reading or borrowing from your library. Just let me know. Tell me all about it down in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I make new videos every Sundays, Wednesdays and Fridays, and I will see you soon. Bye.